Welcome back to the Pod of Greed.
Welcome back indeed, guys. Happy Thursday.
Wednesday for us.
Or whatever day you are listening to it. So, it's another week. We've got fun card game stuff to talk about, Yu-Gi-Oh stuff to talk about.
And remember, this is the only place to hear Yu-Gi-Oh stuff because we're the only podcast on the internet.
That's true. So, if you're listening to the premiere, one's in chat, please.
One's up.
Would appreciate it. If not, then, just a thumbs up on the video in general. A 5-star review would be nice. We haven't gotten any new reviews in a while, at least not on Apple Podcasts. Is usually where I read them. So if somebody wants to leave a nice 5-star review.
But yeah, do it before I do it. Because if I have to do it, that's going to shame all of y'all.
This past weekend was our sneak peek for Alliance Insight. I know we've been talking a little bit about it. We both went to the sneak peek.
That's right.
How'd you like it?
Too.
Did you like the set? Did it treat you well?
How do I put it? I did okay with this set.
I feel like this was definitely your set more than my set. You had a lot of stuff.
Alliance Insight has a lot of just cards that I want. Not just free agent cards, but archetypal cards.
What all were you building or kind of gathering?
So there was the last of the White Forest Diabell Store and Lore cards. I wanted literally all of them. There was the last Metal Morph card, the Red Eyes Metal Claw guy.
Yeah.
There was the Shining Sarcophagus Dark Magician Girl.
Censored.
It is what it is.
Yeah, typical.
There was a new Evil Hero monster. What else am I missing? There was a lot, y'all.
Yeah, there's a lot.
For me specifically.
Yeah, there's a lot of just different things that you wanted from the set. I wasn't super interested in anything, so I just decided I'm going to be interested in something, and I was like, okay, I'll try to get the Ryuge deck, which isn't really in this set. It gets some support cards in the set, and I think they're both commons. They really, you can tell when Konami even they know no one's that interested in Ryuge because Malice and Ryziel get cards, and Star Ryziel is a secret rare, Malice Martyr is a secret rare. The two Ryuge cards are both commons.
No one cares.
So I was thinking this will give me something to have to kind of shoot for and pull for, but they're commons, so I just got them.
I pulled you wanted Regenesis, I thought. I pulled some Regenesis
Yeah,
cards.
that was going to be the next part. So I decided I'm going to now be a Regenesis guy, and I'm going to build Regenesis.
Paul's going to Regenesis.
I mean, I think for me, when there's a Yu-Gi-Oh set that I just don't care a lot about, I have to try to give myself something to build in it. And so Regenesis, at least for the time being, is going to be that archetype. And I haven't read too much of them, looked too much at them. I'm going to play them, see how I like it, and then I'll just kind of decide from there if it's something that I want. Because that's how it goes for a lot of my decks. As much of a Vanquish Soul lover as I am now, I originally was not interested in the archetype. I didn't really care how it played. I thought it was just not for me. Tried it out one day and just I just fell in love with it.
That's true. I remember when you were into the fire people. What were they called? Fire hydrant.
Oh yeah, Rescue Ace. Same.
Rescue Ace. I remember it was the same situation where you literally picked them up while rolling your eyes at first.
Yeah, just something on a whim.
And then you became the biggest Rescue Ace player I know.
It's my top one in my top 5 now. Also, even Voiceless Voice was that way, if you can believe it. I love Voiceless Voice now, but I just kind of remember picking it up. I was just I just haven't played a new Ritual deck in a while. So anyway, the point is though, our Alliance Insight sneak peek was a lot of fun. We had a little tournament.
I
bought
pulled
some
more
packs.
Regenesis than anything else I wanted.
Bought some boxes. I'm now I guess maybe 30% into my Regenesis deck.
Yeah, I supplied you with half the ultras.
Yeah,
and one secret.
And I'm also I'm building Mitsurugi now, just a pure Mitsurugi deck. I want to just learn it. I don't want to combine it with anything. I've played.
They definitely have enough cards now.
Yeah, they do. They've got all their support, and it's also cool because in the second line of support, they gave them much lower rarities than the first. So
that tends to be the last line of support. The cards just aren't as expensive.
So I'd love to hear how anybody else's sneak peeks went for Alliance Insight. Did you enjoy yourself? Have a good time? Is this your set? Because for some people, that's just how it is. It's your set,
Mm-hmm. Oh, we didn't talk about the tournament itself as part of the sneak peek.
It's kind of a simple locals tournament. Neither of us won, so.
No, I brought Ancient Gears.
Yeah, I've just played Voiceless Voice. Although I think next time I play in a tournament, I do want to actually try to use one of these newer decks, Mitsurugi or Regenesis, if I can.
I don't think I won a single round.
It's okay though. So I mean, I think that's actually it goes to show. I know, like we talk about it a lot on this podcast. Like, you know, we're nothing special. Like we just go to locals and like have poor to maybe middling at best performances.
I think it's incredible. You've won that locals more than once, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I've won the locals a few times, but like also that's not. It isn't like this foregone conclusion sort of thing. Like,
I mean,
where I just like march in there
I
and
gotta
just
show up
win
and
for
just
free.
clap people. I just still think it's incredible with the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! How my opponents will just have the hand traps. They just will turn one, no matter how many rounds of the tournament is, you just have to contend with oftentimes at least two hand traps just on turn one. I know that, you know, the game has been like evolving and changing, but it's hard for my like brain, which hasn't quite left 2014 Yu-Gi-Oh, when the hand trap lineup was so much smaller. I still find myself thinking, yeah, and if they just don't have a hand trap, but they always have hand traps.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you. I mean, like now that you're sort of trying to weasel your way back into playing more like modern and advanced Yu-Gi-Oh, learning how to just deal with hand traps is like almost a rite of passage of sorts. Like where you have to know like what is the ideal order for your deck to activate cards and like play around stuff. Because when I first played Voiceless Voice, I didn't really know. I was kind of just playing all my search cards, just doing whatever. But now I've like had to realize, okay, like this is the best way to like bait Ash Blossom. This is the safest way to play under a Molcharmi or a Maxi. Like just these little things.
Like a few weeks ago, a guy at Locals told me that he literally does not practice combos without assuming that he is going to get Ash and Veiler in a combo. And so his combos are literally crafted with that being hand trapped in mind, which is something that I'm still trying to just get used to.
I know it's the standard, but also there have been a few like sort of small Yu-Gi-Oh product announcements that I guess we can sort of just go over real quick. So Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem. We haven't really gotten like any major new card reveals from it, but what we have gotten is the confirmation that there are going to be these field centers inside. So basically, this is a UK retailer listed a pre-order for Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem. A 3-pack tuck box is what they call them.
Tuck box?
Yeah, just this sort of box that they only really release these in Europe. I guess they're sort of maybe based off how the OCG does them. There's these sort of slim boxes where you get like 3 packs. But basically, you get 1 of 7 collectible field center cards inside. And so these are the field centers. They're a little sort of low quality, so it's hard to see. But you can see there's like a Girsu Orchest one, a Dragon Maid one.
I literally can't tell what the other two.
A few other archetypes. I see what looks like Galatea. So, yeah, 7 new field centers that seem like they're going to be variants that you can get when you buy those. Now, I don't think this is going to be releasing in the United States, unfortunately. So,
lame.
Yeah, kind of sucks. But I thought that was like a neat tidbit. If maybe we will get something similar to it. I like any time that they kind of include just something extra.
Some type of accessory.
I've always approved of the dice that they, whenever they do those like Battles of Legend or like Legendary Duelist reprint box things.
Paul's got a bag of dice.
Yeah, I have a lot of those dice. Somebody at Locals actually had a bunch of excess ones and they were giving them away.
Yeah, they were buying up, was it Battles of Legends? Was that were just sitting on the shelf? And so they just had all these dice.
Yeah, this guy was just kind of handing them out. I think I grabbed a BLS one. Or something.
I pulled a BLS one.
Or maybe it wasn't it was something that I grabbed.
I remember I just closed my eyes and just kind of dug in there and I just pulled a BLS.
Another neat and related thing is the tuck boxes for Alliance Insight, which I guess will be on shelves pretty soon.
That's just the name we're going with.
That's what they're calling them. At least that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! News TCG calls them, is tuck boxes. So they're going to be coming out at the end of the month, or really tomorrow, because that's when the set would be releasing. And it's where you get your packs of Alliance Insight and a variant token. The variant tokens this time are Luna, because like the ancient fairy stuff is in the set. There's Taya with a Dark Magician Girl behind her.
Where is this narrative?
This one's weird because Taya never used Dark Magician Girl.
But this is not the first time that they've paired Taya with Dark Magician Girl.
I think it's just because she's sort of Yugi's girlfriend figure.
She's Yugi's girl. Dark Magician Girl is Dark Magician's girl. So I guess.
No, what I don't maybe care for too much though is that they just use just a random kind of older art of Dark Magician Girl instead of maybe just using the art of the Dark Magician Girl variant that comes in the set, which would be the like apprentice girl.
Well, I mean, even that Ancient Fairy token isn't the Ancient Fairy we get in the set. That's there's a straight up Ancient Fairy dragon.
Yeah, then there's I from Yu-Gi-Oh Vrains.
Ooh.
I is like kind of the main, I think, antagonist that they fight at the very end because I remember watching some of that duel.
That his name is I.
Maybe. Don't
Look like
Brains
his name
people,
would be
please
like-
don't get mad at me.
His name would be like Yufaku or something.
And then there's also 2 Playmaker like Yusaku ones. I know there are Code Talker cards in the set, but they gave him 2 different tokens that you can get.
What are the monsters? I can barely see. I know one's Decode.
One is like, actually I can't make them out either. Their quality is very low. And I'm not gonna lie, I already don't like Cyberus cards, so like I can't. Here we go. There's a list. There's a Playmaker one with Decode Talker and a Playmaker with Cyberus Quantum Dragon.
Oh, okay,
then so I was right, that's his name. And he's got the Arrival Cyberus at Ignister behind him, which is weird because that's another old card. Like, Arrival Cyberus is quite old. Luna's got Ancient Fairy Dragon and Taya has Dark Magician Girl.
One day I'm going to sit and just watch Reigns. It's either that or I sit and watch Zexal, since those are the 2 series I haven't really watched.
Zexal's, I've heard, much better.
I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah. So here's another neat little Yu-Gi-Oh tidbit that happened over the week. So you know the pack Justice Hunters?
Yes.
Well, basically they released.
We already opened it.
Yeah, that's true. We opened the Japanese Justice Hunters packs that were sent to us from Yu-Gi Market. But yeah, so Justice Hunters got its TCG release date and all that stuff. I think we mentioned that last week in the podcast. However, strangely, they took down all of the information about Justice Hunters. They took the product page down for a day. And this was sort of mysterious. Even the company that typically will email me with like press releases of new Yu-Gi-Oh products was like, hey, like we're retracting all this. Please take down any posts you made about this.
That's interesting. So they told you that this information is being retracted and then to just delete whatever you'd posted about it.
To be clear, I should probably explain what I mean by this. So basically, like companies like Konami and I'm sure many other card game companies, whatever, will have like these middlemen PR companies that will just send out press releases. So I just get press releases in my email inbox whenever there's like a new Yu-Gi-Oh announcement. It's not like a sponsored thing or anything like that. They send them to me. And so whenever there's like a retraction or an error that they made in a new product blurb, they'll usually, I guess, email everybody who's on that mailing list and be like, yeah, like the last thing was made in error. If you've shared information about this product with your audience, like, retract it or whatever. I hadn't shared anything, so it didn't really apply to me. But
so weird in this, because Yu-Gi-Oh is a game where we start reporting on cards like 6 months before they come out.
Yep, just like that.
So it's strange for them to say, hey, take down whatever like misinformation you guys have about these like archetypes that are coming out. And it's like, we've been calling them by the wrong name for half a year now. We always do this.
I remember Necroz was Necloth or something like that.
Yep, Necloth. I'll never forget that.
That always seems so.
Or I forget. I'm forgetting.
Remember Crystron Needle Fiber?
Crystron Needle Fiber. I was thinking about that pendulum archetype. What were they called? The ones with towers.
Cleaforts?
Cleaforts. They were called like
Clefoth or something like that.
So yeah, they had a different name. That's what I remember.
Anyway, to get back to what actually changed with the Justice Hunters information, they changed the name of the archetype Dragon Tails to Draco Tails. So there's a bit of a story here, as I understand it.
I was surprised about this one too.
So we already knew that this archetype in Japan in the OCG was called Dragon Tails, but it was spelled or roughly translated to Dragon Tales as in Tales, like a story. Mm-hmm. Here they called it Dragon Tales, Tails, as in just like they have the tail of a dragon or something. Well, that would have probably been a sort of conflict of interest. What's the word for that?
I mean, that would be
copyright
infringement
or whatever, IP infringement against the TV show Dragon Tales, if anybody remembers that on PBS. I watched that a lot.
Dragon Tales.
Yeah, that was with like Max and Ruby. And,
yep.
Yeah, I watched that shit out of that as a kid.
All the little dragon people.
And so they revised it to Draco Tales. I've also heard though that apparently this might be because there was like a Fisher a fishing supplies company, something called Dragon Tales, that was spelled the same way.
I can find out because that does sound familiar.
So,
And I used to be, I used to fish back in the day.
so either way, yeah, they have changed it now to Draco Tales, which was sort of intriguing to me because it made me wonder if like how many of these cards have probably already been physically printed and that they will now have to basically like, do an entire reprint or rerun of the set. And if maybe even there are copies of these cards that originally that like still say like Dragon Tales and might float their way out into the wild.
I mean, you think they print the cards that early?
Well, who knows? And like it's been known to happen. Like Konami's been known to have like just sort of weird, niche instances of like printing errors and stuff like that. So yeah. So I thought that was kind of like a funny, neat story. Nothing major. Like it doesn't functionally change very much of anything, but. I mean, what do you think? Do you figure that this was because of copyright infringement, or do you think they just...
A million billion %. I mean, I think that's the only reason you make a product announcement and then retract it.
Right.
Because otherwise, I just don't think you would bother. It's just too much effort. And, to have to tell the PR company to go ahead and, like, tell people to, like, take down, like, information with this old information. They don't want the legal trouble.
Right. And it's funny because, coming hot off the heels of the reveal of all this Air Neo stuff, like,
yeah,
which also is like copyright. It just,
though, I do wonder, I'm pretty sure there's another archetype in this game that has to have the name of a company or product out there.
Almost certainly. It makes you wonder, like, what makes the distinction, I guess, actionable versus not actionable. Like, is it, just a matter of, well, one's like a TV show versus one's maybe just like a more obscure product, like,
Obscure is not fair. Niche.
Well, something, I mean, I just wonder, like, what is the level of popularity that would start to, like, raise flags?
Or maybe it's the industry that matters.
Or the industry, yeah. So that's all the TCG news, sort of. There is a new OCG card, which is coming in that GX Osiris Red pack.
Slifer.
Yeah, the Slifer sort of pack that...
We don't do Osiris here.
It's an OCG product. And remember, we're not going to get it here in the TCG. So they've been basically like turning a lot of GX anime cards into actual cards they will be releasing in the game. Mm-hmm. And we haven't covered too many of them on the podcast because most of them are neat. Like I remember they did the golden Egg Witch.
They did the golden Egg Witch. They also did the Home Wrecker who tried to tear Sparkman away from his family.
Yeah, so the card that's getting a lot of buzz today is Illusion Gate. So this is one that is coming straight from the anime. It's a normal spell, and it looks like it's definitely going to be a powerful new free agent card. It says, pay half your life points, destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, then you can special summon one monster from their graveyard to your field, ignoring its summoning conditions. So this is a really powerful thing. It's kind of, you can only use one per duel. So it's got a once per duel restriction on it.
No slapping down multiple to try and...
So what do you think? What's your initial kind of give on it?
I mean, it's just a simple power creeping card, right? It's a stronger Raigeki. If Raigeki did not make you want to waste your interruptions, well, this card certainly will.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than Raigeki because, I mean, obviously there's a hefty life point cost associated, but like it's modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You're trying to break their board, your life points really don't matter too much in most cases. But the fact that you get to summon back a monster from their graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions, means that like you don't just clear their board, you get kind of whatever their most problematic monster, assuming that you were able to get rid of it.
You take it.
That could be like something with an Omni Negate or some other sort of controlling effect. So I think it'll definitely be like at least side deck material, if nothing else.
I mean, if you're going second, right? There's no reason not to just side this in, along with the rest of your going second suite. But like you gotta break that board at all costs.
Yeah.
Cut them life points in half. Like if you resolve this, that makes winning the match so much easier now.
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited. I wonder how they're going to import these cards. Like I'm wondering if they'll just put them in our Battles of Legend. Because that would sort of fit.
Well, it makes sense.
Like an anime.
And timing wise.
Yeah, it's like an anime thing. Or maybe they'll just like toss them into tins, like the tins later in the year.
They do love anime-inspired tins, and well, actually, this one's not really. Was this card in the anime? Because I don't remember it.
It might have been from like season 4. And
Maybe
that's just kind of why it's not.
It's called Illusion Gate. And at first,
it has a very sinister look to it.
I thought it was going to be like illusion support, and then it definitely wasn't
anything but that. Okay, so there's also a little bit of Master Duel news, and the news isn't actually as, I guess, important as maybe the backlash around it. So there's a new Forbidden Limited list that was updated or announced for Master Duel. It's going to be taking effect on May 9th. I've kind of stopped really bringing like Master Duel Banlist stories into the pod because like they're Master Duel Banlist. They happen kind of frequently. And they're usually pretty small. And this one similarly is pretty small. So basically, Pearly, Emergency Teleport, Rescue Ace Airlifter, and Fire King High Avatar Kieran were all at 2 to previously nerf certain strategies, and they're now all going to 3.
Yep.
So just a kind of simple little shift.
Freedom boys.
But they semi-limited Solemn Judgment from 3 to 2. And this caught a lot of people off guard because it just sort of feels like Solemn Judgment really doesn't even get played very much anymore. It's sort of the last thing that you think of as like a problem card today.
But it's that statistical analysis that Master Duel has. They see numbers that we don't, so they can see adjustments that we would never even think to ask for. It's likely that Solemn Judgment just had a higher than normal win rate. And unless you are playing 1 million duels a day, you wouldn't have noticed
really know.
it.
I think that the reason why is probably because of stun decks. It's a really powerful card, and anything that's sort of like, summoning Inspector Border, Fossil Dyna, like Moon Mirror Shield set 5, like those sorts of just obnoxious stun decks. Typically, Solemn Judgment is what gets to protect their field.
Yeah, they
from,
probably
like,
saw
evenly matched and Lightning Storm and stuff. And so they were probably seeing like that those decks are maybe just doing a little too well, and just they consider to be disrupting the play experience. A
part of like Master Duel's like control of data means that they could have looked at all the data they have and said, these like specific style of decks that run 3 copies of Silent Judgment are performing, 0.05% better than decks that run 2 copies, and that's a good enough reason to knock it down to 2, just to knock those percentages down ever so slightly to reach whatever
their equilibrium is. And we've talked about this a lot, so I won't go into that too much more. But the point is, people's reception of this has understandably not been great. People are kind of on this whole like, wow, these Master Duel Banlists are a joke. Like, these devs know nothing. Snake Eye has been dominant in this game for like 16 straight months. And like, why aren't they hitting Fiendsmith? Why aren't they hitting something that's actually seen as problematic? And I will say, for the first time, I really wish that they had hit a few of those things, because Snake Eye has been really strong in Master Duel for a long time. The thing is, though, none of that's all that important. There's a fun meme that came from this that I made a video on, but I just wanted to kind of get your quick just take on this meme.
Okay.
Because it's, as people insult Master Duel, one of Master Duel's warriors on Twitter, I'll call them, posted this meme. It's the beta TCG. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of it. It's the beta TCG duelist versus Giga Chad Master Duelist. And it just highlights these different ways in which, I guess, playing Master Duel is a superior Yu-Gi-Oh experience to playing the TCG, citing things like, well, if I don't eat this month, I guess I can go to YCS Venezuela, or, having to call the judges about rulings, poor prize support, darn, the sleeves I bought today have like a fingernail indent, and I guess I need new ones, that whole thing, air fryers, Nintendo Switches. That's like on the TCG side.
Right.
This is the meme, by the way. This isn't like me saying that this stuff is all true. If I sell my blood plasma for a month, I can afford the new engine and maybe win some booster packs. On the other side of the coin is the Giga Chad Master Duelist, who, plays from bed while watching SpongeBob. Event pricing literally just as good as the TCGs. 80% of content creators have switched to Master Duel. Never has to spend a dime. 100 times larger player base. Easy access to a website with unlimited statistics. I guess talking about Master Duel.
What my meme will look like? So on the TCG Duelist side, it would just be a general picture of people at a YCS, right? Mm-hmm. And on the right side, for the Master Duelist side, it'd be a picture of a guy who's
A gaming chair is also a toilet because they're doing a duelist cup where they have to duel for 24 hours straight and they cannot move.
Yeah, this one, it certainly, it got a little spicy. People were jousting about like, is Master Duel the better way to play Yu-Gi-Oh? Is TCG the better way? Who's getting screwed over more?
The truth is, you're all losing.
Yeah, that's my honest to goodness joke is like, listen, you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, you're suffering either way. But in all seriousness, I just thought it was kind of an amusing thing, like seeing how somehow we have created this weird like rift of we're all Yu-Gi-Oh players. Why are we like
we different though.
Like why is there this kind of not like us tension?
Next time you see a Master Duelist, it's like throw physical cards at them and watch them get scared.
Yeah, they get scared. It's like that SpongeBob meme. Yeah. The only thing I can really weigh in on it at this point is just that like I play both. I think they both have their merits.
Watch me turn off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I think the best advice you can probably give is just like, know why you're playing the games that you're playing. Like, I think if you don't want to go to locals, that's fine. You don't have a locals nearby, that's fine. Like, Master Duel can, fulfill that for you. But also, like, I think that there's something nice about socializing with people across from a table from you. And, other times I don't want to fucking deal with people.
Yeah, sure. And that's when you go to Master.
Some days I just want to like queue up and just get some reps in.
Break out your toilet chair and just.
Right.
7-hour stream.
So, cool, fun.
So I did find Illusion Gate was actually in the anime.
Yeah, I mean, it had to have been. That's what all these cards are based on.
But right? I didn't remember it. It was actually used by Camula, one of the Shadow Riders in Yu-Gi-Oh GX.
Oh, she was one of the vampire lady? Yeah.
Which makes sense. This card steals a monster from your opponent's graveyard. And that kind of is a vampire thing. She actually used it against Zane and Jaden.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, like, it sounds like it's going to be powerful. That's one thing I can tell just from reading it once. I think that's all the Yu-Gi-Oh news as far as, as far as I can really tell. So, any other card game stuff?
Well, it's a Wednesday, or for you guys, a Thursday. It's a Thursday, so someone was stealing Pokemon cards.
Yeah, Alec has to bring his weekly Pokemon theft story, so... What did they do this time?
Man beaten and robbed for $5,000 Pokemon card.
Okay, let's hear it. So, like, how did it all play out?
So, a 38-year-old Australian resident had arranged to sell a PSA 9 base set unlimited holo Charizard to a stranger in a parking lot in somewhere in Wales, whatever that is.
Yeah, okay.
However, instead, he was physically assaulted by the person he'd arranged to meet, who then stole the card and drove away.
Oh. So, plain and simple, I guess.
Yeah. At the time of this article, that guy got away. He hasn't been caught.
When was this article posted?
Let's see. This was posted... it was like 5 hours ago.
Oh, so this is for the time that we're recording this, kind of breaking. Sucks.
He's got assaulted and robbed. Okay.
I mean, I wonder. Yeah, you first.
I don't think people should be trying to move $1,000 cards in anybody's parking lot. I know, like, when you're doing like Facebook marketplace transactions, it's common to just meet up in a parking lot and then sell like a coffee maker or a table or whatever the hell you're moving, right?
Yeah.
But like, we're talking a $5,000 card.
I mean, I've always said that because I've done a few Facebook marketplace transactions, and I've pretty much always said, like, you got to meet somewhere very public too. Like, just a parking lot isn't enough. Like, most people kind of prefer to meet, like we're going to meet inside the Starbucks, or more. Like, what I'd say is probably the best way. Some people actually meet in front of like civic centers or police stations.
Oh, we would have met in the police station.
Things like, yeah, because like if you're exchanging anything that's like worth more than really even $50, I was going to say like $100, $50, something. You need to have some sense of, like security, like something goes wrong, you need to be able to like, because it's not even just that your thing could be stolen. I mean, you could also just be kidnapped or harmed in some way or whatever. Like this person got beat up and their thing got stolen. So I wonder what card was it? He says a PSA 9.
It was a PSA 9 base set Charizard.
Okay.
It was unlimited, but
But still, a big deal.
A base set Charizard. They actually said earlier this month there was a similar parking lot robbery in Wyoming where the ironically named Justice Earl Geho was arrested for taking a $3,300 card without paying.
Oh, that's a familiar name.
Justice.
Because we talked about that.
We did.
Yeah,
I remember Geho, not the first name.
Yeah. So I guess there's nothing new to add here. Don't steal Pokemon cards. Please be careful.
Don't steal Pokemon cards, but for the love of God, don't trade them in parking lots. Jesus.
Yeah. I've got one last TCG story that I kind of just saw last minute, and it's a game that I don't know a whole bunch about, so I'm kind of more just relaying this as opposed to, giving a strong opinion on it. Altered TCG. I think I've heard about this somewhere in my inbox before.
You say that like Alex hasn't told you about Altered multiple times.
I thought he was talking about something different. Altered TCG's wild new print-on-demand service is now live. So Equinox, which I guess is the company that's doing this, delivers on its promise of game-changing new technology. Mm-hmm. So Altered, the trading card game that broke records on Kickstarter with a $6.2 million crowdfunding campaign in 2024. How did we miss that? That's such a big headline. Like, I feel like we would have...
Well, I didn't hear about the Kickstarter. I mean, I've heard so much about Altered from Alex.
Yeah, just like if it broke Kickstarter records. Anyway, whatever. So it recently launched a live beta of its most novel feature called Print on Demand, or POD. Pod. Players can... Pod. Yeah.
Hey, wait. We should have copyrighted that. They stole that.
Yeah, they stole it. We are the only pod in the world. So players can now order up additional copies of any card in their collection directly through the game's online storefront. It's a feature unique to this card game alone, and it sets it apart from its competitors like Magic and Disney Lorcana. So, TCGs have traditionally been sold through so-called blind packs, so the customer never really knows what's inside until they open them. The same is true of Altered, which is sold in booster packs at stores and online. Each of the cards in Altered, however, also features a QR code. Customers can scan their packs into a mobile app, dozens at a time, formally locking that card to their digital account. It's a service that works extremely well, and if you were wondering, the publisher Equinox tells Polygon, that's where I'm reading this from, that it is not using the blockchain. So if you are
thank God
anti, crypto and all that stuff, NFTs, then good for you. This doesn't walk all over that. But yeah, so I guess, you can use your cards in your online collection to play in digital games via Board Game Arena, but more importantly, I guess you can order more copies of that card, including foil copies if you wish, and have them delivered directly to your door. Now, I'm kind of curious about, is this free?
God, no.
There's no way, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay, actually, it goes on to tell the price. So, according to the Altered onboarding information on its website, orders must be placed in batches of 20 called packs. Single cards can be added to a pack as many times as you like, so long as players own the digital rights to at least one copy. Cards can be printed normally with standard art or with foil treatments instead. However, foiling requires a special card, a collectible that is also found in blind packs, which is consumed on a per card basis. Oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
So I guess you buy packs and you can also, within a pack, get a resource that acts as your ticket to getting a special art version of the card should you choose to order it.
Yes.
Man, this feels like real life Pokemon TCG Pocket.
With
all the different
Altered
kind of
TCG
currencies.
certainly sounds like a bit of not the gameplay, but this system just sounds like a mix between a traditional TCG and a CCG. Because that's a system that Yu-Gi-Oh could never, right?
Unlikely, yeah. Here's what else they have to say. Players can order at most 15 packs per order. So remember, a pack is 20 cards. Mm-hmm. You can order at most 15 packs per order for a grand total of 300 cards at a time. When purchasing, players are charged on a per pack basis with discounts for more packs bought. So 1 or 2 packs will run you $20 each, or $1 per card, while ordering 13 to 15 packs brings the price down to just $15 per pack, or the equivalent of 75 cents each. Customers are also responsible for taxes, shipping, and potential customs duties, which, as we know, is a little more relevant today than it's been in the past.
Facts.
So I think that the cards get printed in batches as well. So the one caveat in the entire scheme is that there are several classes of cards that can only be printed once per year. These currently include promo cards or alt arts. If that applies to a card in your collection, it will be clearly marked in the details of that card online. The next batch of custom printed cards will be run beginning May 13th, and customers would need to place their orders by then to be included. But the website says up to 5,000 packs can be printed every Tuesday going forward. So fans won't have to wait too long if they miss the window. That's the article. Okay. This sounds so interesting and intriguing to me.
Yeah.
What's like could you see yourself like doing this? I mean, I know that like you might not know very much about Altered itself. Like maybe it's not your sort of game.
I actually know a lot about Altered because people wouldn't shut up about telling me about Altered. So the system I'm already familiar with. My actual issue with Altered is not what is in this article.
Okay, what's your issue with it?
It has a very unique gameplay style that no other card game does.
Yeah, this doesn't really go into any detail about the gameplay style. What's it like?
It's not a traditional battle style TCG. You and your opponent, attacking one another essentially. Altered, essentially, it's really hard to describe. You have two characters on the board, right?
Yeah.
And their goal in Altered is to have them meet in the middle.
Meet in the middle in combat, or like they're just get to know each other, romance?
I don't 100% understand, but you're not really battling in Altered. You're just trying to build. You know what? I can show you a picture. And maybe you'll understand it from the picture. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, while you search for that, I will just add that I think that the system feels novel, but it certainly feels like something that I think a lot of sort of card game nerds like myself would have certainly wanted, like as a kid or as a teenager or whatever. Just sort of this cool hybrid. You got the picture. So
in Altered, you're trying to get your characters from one side of the board to like meet in the middle.
Right.
And like the cards you play are supposed to facilitate them moving across, I guess. I haven't played. This would be a good time to call Alex because he actually has played and demoed Altered and knows way more about this game than I do.
We would have to.
But for me, games that kind of move too far away from the Magic the Gathering style of card gaming, they confuse me.
So what you're saying is you're a basic ass bitch.
I'm basic. I'm sorry. I that's my issue with Lorcana as well. Even though it is a battle, they keep changing terminology. All the terminology in Lorcana is like topsy turvy. We don't battle. We quest.
I mean, some of that I think is just sort of like aesthetic.
But like too many aesthetic changes.
The same stuff. But the mechanically, it's the same thing.
My monster has to kill yours.
Okay.
I don't want to quest. I want to attack my opponent.
Yeah, the thing is, questing isn't even actually attacking. It's like its own thing. Because attacking is just called like challenging or something.
Yeah. Questing is like attacking life points
directly. Yeah, it's kind of a different.
I don't want to quest. I want my Gaia the Fierce Knight to spiral flame strike my opponent. I know that's not his attack.
But getting back to Altered, I guess for a bit here. What do you think of this like hybrid system? Like it's because what I was saying is like it reminds me of something that I would have wanted as a teenager, where it's like you've got your smartphone, your account on this website, and there's a kind of a digital repository of all the cards that you own, while also having the ability to get those cards physically should you choose to.
It vaguely reminds me of an old game called Chaotix.
Oh, I know a few people who played that.
Because it was based on cartoons. You might have seen the cartoon on TV when we were kids. But in Chaotix, you could have your physical card. Your physical cards could just be digital. I think it was 1-to-1. Like every card you had, you could upload. I think it's been many years since then. But
I think of like Team Chaotix from
Altered takes it a step further, right? Because you get the physical card, you can upload it online. Now online says that you own the card, and then they take it the next step and say, all right, now we'll send you
can duplicate
as many copies of that card as you want.
It feels very
not free, but
it feels very real life, kind of like crafting system almost. Like once you've got one, you can now like just duplicate it for a fee, but like you can duplicate it quite easily.
Because we've all dealt with the problem of needing 3-ofs in Yu-Gi-Oh! And let's say the 3-of you need is like an ultra rare or a secret rare, right? You might pull one out of a pack, but if you try and pull all 3 out of packs,
it's just not happening.
Ooh.
You will spend so much money on boxes hoping to pull like 3 Marsh hairs.
Only 2 secrets in your box, and you need 3 copies.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. So I think this is kind of cool. It sort of addresses a common complaint with card games of like pulling the things you need, but also you're not forced to buy like to do these duplications. Like you can still use the traditional system of just buying packs or just trading with your friends at locals. But I think that this also could potentially, at least, it sort of means that no card will have, ideally anyway, like price tags really, like kind of these huge secondary market price tags for like a secret rare that you would see in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I guess it could still have one, but like the idea that if I pull like 1 Malice March here, right? I'm just using the most recent secret as an example. Then I can now like for $1 duplicate it. And that can be said of any secret in the set. So they are all ultimately worth $1 to get additional printings of. So like that should help, I would think, a lot with like bringing down overall accessibility, like price and stuff.
I do think there's some like murkiness to the system though. I feel like it does mean you can't simply just trade cards anymore, because once you have that, once it's been you have the digital ownership of that card, I can give you this physical card, but you will not be able to get additional copies.
Oh, that's true.
I am still the holder of that card. At least that's what it says online. You can steal the card from me. I can order 3 more, and you'll always just have that one.
In a way, and this is, I haven't thought a lot about this. I'm just kind of like just speaking freely here.
Yeah, we're ignorant. Remember that, guys.
Is like, I think that that's still a net win, because it's like, well, it might discourage trading. I think a person could still trade if they just want to just physically have the card and don't want to deal with all this waiting for the next batch time and all that. And like, it just sort of means that I think it just keeps prices low. It just, like, on average, it's just sort of going to get prices so low. And it means that even if someone like steals your cards, it's effectively a safeguard from that, because it's like, well, okay, someone stole my deck. That sucks, but I can just order it, like more of it. I mean, like, for a static price.
Like, I do think Altered TCG offers a difficult proposition for card shops, though.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, would a card shop really want to stock a game where players are encouraged to buy initially from you, like at your card shop, but like really only for the 1 or 2 purchases until they kind of get what they need, and then like never buy anymore?
As in a best case scenario, a given player will buy until they have one of every impactful card in the set, and then they'll just order online from there.
Although, zooming out, is that even much different than how Yu-Gi-Oh! And other games already work?
That's a good point.
Like, even for us, like thinking about how we sort of engage with packs, like you and I, we'll typically go to the sneak peek.
Yep.
We'll enter the sneak peek a couple of times.
I'll buy a box.
Typically, Alec will buy a box. I'll usually buy a box. And we'll just see what we pull. And typically, once we've pulled, something to start a deck out, then we just order the rest in TCG Player. Now, the difference, I guess, being there is like we are resorting to the secondary market, and we're kind of at the mercy of those prices, which can be,
it could be
$20,
rough.
$30 or something for like some secret that you need. Whereas with this, like, it's the fixed price thing at least still helps that a lot. But I get what you're saying. Like, as a card shop owner, I want to hear from, if someone, how do you guys think that would affect things? Like, would you even...
We are opening ourselves up to the Altered TCG floodgates. Paul, there are a lot of people who, they love this game.
Hey, the Kickstarter
I'm sure
was
we
successful.
are going to be flooded with comments about it.
I mean, I do want to know, like, would you like to see a system like this in Yu-Gi-Oh? Because I've heard people talk about that for ages. Like, what if in Yu-Gi-Oh I could just go to Yu-Gi-Oh/card.com and just order any card in Alliance Insight from Konami, like, for a fixed price of like $1.
As fun as that is, I've met some Konami employees, and I would not wish that on them. Because Konami wouldn't hire more people to run a system like that.
Yeah, it would probably get like so overrun.
It would be Jerome by himself.
Yeah, poor guy.
Printing every on-demand card.
Yeah, I mean, a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! That's one last thing I guess I'll add about this too, is like a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Really probably has no reason to want to do this. Same goes for Magic, where like they have economies of scale. These are like the biggest card games. They have deals with these printing companies and stuff. So like printing Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards for them is like so cheap. Altered is obviously new kid on the block, would not have access to that sort of leverage and bargaining power. So they are basically saying like, you can order these cards because like think about like how much a single Yu-Gi-Oh card costs to print is probably like hay pennies, right?
Yeah.
Like just 1/10 of a penny, maybe 100th of a penny, like some astronomically low
Given the amount that they print, yeah.
Technically with Altered though, they're charging you $1 no matter what the card is. You could duplicate a common type of card from this. You could duplicate like whatever their equivalent to like an ultra or a secret rare is. Either way, you're paying a whole $1. So you're paying far and away above like what the actual unit cost of like a card for them is. But still, for you, the consumer, it's a pretty nice deal, I would say.
It's just that it feels then that Altered is a game that doesn't really want to grow quickly, since it's a system that promises to fall behind because of, the nature of the system. If they're doing print on demand, like any good print on demand service, if you get too many orders, you will just fall behind.
It'll be interesting to watch and see how they do. Because it's such a novel thing, I will say that I am like optimistic and like I hope that they can show that this system can work, and that way that can sort of be an insurgent in the field of card gaming.
Well, Paul, it sounds like you need to try Altered TCG, try this service, and make a video about it.
I might. I mean, like I'm sure that they've emailed me, and I've probably missed
your email.
So I need to maybe check that inbox of mine. But it's a unique system. I might give it a crack. That might be a small chance because it's tough to pull me away from Yu-Gi-Oh. But if Alex is also like into it, then perhaps there's more motivation there.
I know I've seen the cards running around, so they're in the area too. I know they're around. I just don't know exactly where.
Yeah. All right. Here's another interesting little thing that I saw.
What you
got?
got?
Sort of card game, mobile game adjacent.
Oh,
I saw this on Reddit. This is the top grossing digital card games for iOS and Android of April 2025.
Okay.
Now, this was posted about 2 weeks ago. So this is like about a 2 weeks worth of data. Mm-hmm. So really like you could maybe even double these numbers, I guess you could say, to give a more accurate amount of how much revenue these games would be pulling in. But yeah, it's basically a top 10. So you can maybe guess, what do you think is number one? The most grossing mobile card game? Or
Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Final answer.
It is Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Of course it is.
Obviously.
I was trying to speak it into existence.
Funny though, because like it's such a new kid on the block, and like it feels like Pokemon can kind of just come out of nowhere. It
becomes the best.
Popular and just be the top selling thing in a genre.
The very best of every industry.
Yeah, Pokemon TCG Pocket has earned over $50 million in revenue just in, I guess, like the first half or so of April. That is a whopping 25 times as much as the second most earning game. Do you know what that game is?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel for 500.
Yes, it is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
We got there.
Number 3 is Magic the Gathering Arena. Number 4 is Hearthstone. Mm-hmm. Number 5 is Marvel Snap. Number 6 actually is a game that I hadn't heard of, the WWE Supercard wrestling game.
I've heard of it. I didn't know it was that big, but I heard of it.
Number 7 is just this game that I just don't recognize. It's in Japanese. Do you maybe like offhand recognize anything there?
Let me look at it real quick.
I can't really tell like what that might be.
Oh yeah,
I'll have it on
actually
screen
not
so
sure.
someone might know.
That could be. Is that Kaijudo? Duel Masters?
It says something Play 8 or Play B. Play 8. I don't know.
Because that looks like Bullshock Dragon, the monster that's on it.
Number 8. Yeah, maybe you can figure something and look up something. Number 8 is Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Number 9 is Topps Bunt, the MLB card game. Mm-hmm. And number 10 is Black Deck Card Battle, which is something I've never heard of.
So they're just gonna do Duel Links like that?
I mean, according to this chart, Duel Links did move down one space, and this new Japanese game that we don't know the name of moved up 3 spaces. Like, so apparently it's kind of
it's a hot one,
gaining in popularity, kind of like a hot game. Master Duel also moved up from number 3 to number 2, so it's doing pretty well. I just thought this was like an interesting little chart, or it's not really much of a chart, like a list. Any major takeaways that you kind of see from this or think of?
That the Pokemon effect is truly enormous. That, you know, the Logan Paul situation from the pandemic has made it so that they can launch a trading card game app that eschews a lot of the design principles that we expect in the trading card game, like mobile scene, and then out-earn all the other games by a huge margin. Because unlike pretty much every other like trading card game I've seen on mobile, TCG Pocket doesn't actually deal in FOMO. That they don't rotate out their sets, at least as so far. Every single Pokemon like set that they've released is still in the app. You can still get all the cards, and you know, typically in this space, the idea is if I don't spend now, the card will be gone, so I need to pull out my debit card. But in TCG Pocket, I can still spend for the what's it called, Genesis something. I can still pull for like a Mewtwo EX from the very first set. But yeah, people are ripping out their wallets, and they're like, okay, I'm going to buy the $99 package because I have to have every card in this set immediately, despite the fact that this game gives you free pulls every single day, and the cards never go away. But because it's for Pokemon, it's out-earning everything. While it just blows my mind. I don't really understand how they've pulled this off.
Yeah, I was trying to like figure out what this card game is. Is it like, I think it might be like a Beyblade game.
You think it's Beyblade?
Well, I was just trying to look at what are games made by this company called Tomy Company Ltd.
What, spell it real quick?
Tomy Company.
Like Takara Tomy?
Yes, I guess. I was just trying to see like what all it is that they make, and
because I mean, while Takara Tomy certainly makes, they make Beyblade, but they also make Duel Masters. Here it is.
Oh,
wait,
okay,
wrong picture. Bam.
Oh, okay, that's the game.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Duel Masters plays.
Okay. Cool. We got to the bottom of it. I was like, I didn't want to like bring up that list and just like literally not know what the card is. So.
And we've already heard that, many times that Duel Masters is one of the more popular card games in Japan. But I didn't know they had an app. I actually have pictures of it. It's a very simple interface. Mm-hmm. It's just if you love playing Duel Masters and this is your like go-to app game. Man, I kind of want to try this. Let me get the APK for this.
Yeah, I mean, it might be fun. So I just thought that was kind of cool. It's good to see that like Master Duel is still, going strong. Duel Links, surprisingly, is still in the top 10. So while it's, maybe had something of a fall from grace in the last few years, it's not, by any means like failing. Being in the top 10 is still a great place to be. So yeah, it's always kind of cool. I like to go through those like top 10 lists and just see what it is what are the trends looking like. If anybody in the audience plays any of these games, mobile sort of card games and stuff, I would love to hear more about it. What your favorites are right now and, how you're feeling about that. Okay, so today I wanted to try something a little bit different as well.
Uh-oh.
I want to just have like a general topic. And I think that this is something that like we can both weigh in on, and maybe the audience as they're listening, especially people who are listening to the premiere, but also you can enjoy it after the fact. Just sort of like these like weekly sort of just discussion topics.
Okay.
So what I wanted to talk about today is kind of what we'd call like our childhood nerd roots. Like what franchises or like games, toys, whatever, kind of formed the foundation for.
Oh, what popped our nerd cherry?
Yeah, I guess so. That's a way to put it. Like what kind of, when did you know you were like, in for a penny in for a pound type of thing with the whole like nerddom, geekdom thing? And maybe some other like follow-up questions like, just like, has it truly carried on into adulthood? How do you sort of engage with these things today? So to start with, what was each of our very first like exposure to what you would consider nerddom? That could be a game, that could be an anime, it could be a manga, it could be a toy, TV show, like whatever. What was your first one?
My first one, give me 1 sec while I check the year. So it's hard. I can think of a lot of things that happened when I was very young, but I don't know which one was first because I'm fuzzy on years and stuff.
Yeah, I actually am too. So take your time because
I was born in '93, and I don't think I was conscious of getting into like what some would call nerd shit until around the year 2000, because. And this is kind of just because this might be the only year where I truly remember things. But in 2000, I think that was when the PlayStation 2 came out. Or was that in 1999? It was close. Something. It was close. But I know for a fact that I didn't have a console. My parents, they bought us a Super Nintendo when we were quite young, and we broke it almost immediately because, well, we didn't just think of it as a video game. We thought of it as a physical toy as well.
Oh, you had that same experience?
Yeah.
I remember, sorry, I'm just going to cut in with this little quick thing. I remember my cousin had a Nintendo 64, and I didn't know what like games consoles were either. And so when I went to visit, they were like, yeah, like he has like games. And I saw the N64 cartridges, and I was like, where's the game in here? Like what? Like, do you like open it? Like how's it in here? But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I was like, did you also break a cartridge open?
I probably would have if left to my own devices, but
it had to have been around the year 2000, and it was two things. The PlayStation, that Christmas, I remember we got a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 1 was returned because, well, we got a 2, so there was no reason to keep a 1. But also, I want to say that was the year I read Lord of the Rings. It might have been the year before, but I want to say, because I started reading Lord of the Rings before the movies came out, which I think was in like 2001 or 2002. And that was more reading than like the other kids in my grade they're really doing.
Yeah.
And it was specifically like fantasy. And you might argue like fairly a hardcore fantasy for for such a young child. But like I really got into like reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I mean, I read The Fellowship of the Ring, The Twin Towers, The Return of the King. I read The Hobbit. I read those books a few times.
And what grade were you in, did you say? What grade were you in?
I have no idea.
Or like roughly like early elementary?
It had to, I mean, let me think. I was born in 93. This is 2000. So I was 7, 8 years old.
So maybe like 3rd, 4th grade, something like that.
That sounds about right.
Okay. So those two things, basically reading Lord of the Rings and then also getting a PS2.
Yeah, getting my PS2, because the PS2 was huge for me.
Yeah.
Like, that was the game. Except my dad went and bought all these lame, like, sports games for it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You want to play skiing? Like, no. Jesus Christ,
I mean,
Dad.
So, like, what about those things would you say kind of let you know, like, this is me? Like, this is my thing?
Because we were stuck in the middle. You know, my parents want us to go play outside and do sports and stuff. And we did those things too. But I would much rather sit in front of the PlayStation and play it.
Yeah.
They limited our screen time, but that I knew for a fact, more than playing baseball, more than riding my bike, I wanted to play the PlayStation. I wanted to be an inside kid before I knew what it meant to be an inside kid. Wait a minute, when did the Yu-Gi-Oh manga come out?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I feel like I know you actually were reading the manga when it was first like
whenever the very first
States,
printing of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, I read that, but that couldn't have been before 2000, right?
Actually, it probably could have been because I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh's original manga was 1996, but that would have been like
2003 was when the Yu-Gi-Oh manga released in the U.S. So these things are still before the release of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga.
Okay,
thank God.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess from my end, the very first kind of gaming experience that I think I had was probably what I actually described with my cousin having they had the video games. Like, he had an N64. I remember he had games like Mario Kart, Diddy Kong Racing, Smash Bros, Super Mario 64. All these games, I didn't get to play very many of them. It was only when I was visiting, and they were a couple states away, so this is maybe twice a year. I would, I guess, get the opportunity to play games. Strange, really, because he's a little younger than I am, but also, I guess I was maybe 5-ish at the time. Might be the age if I had to, because I was born in 95. So this might have been in 2000 or so. But the first game console that I got was a Game Boy Color, and my sister and I both got Game Boy Colors. Our parents got them for us.
Oh no,
it was a huge deal. Oh, did you get one of those?
Yeah, I did. I forgot. That was in 98.
So you actually probably got a Game Boy before you got a PS2.
I did. I forgot.
And no, it's fine. I mean, I know but what that really tells me is that it sounds like the PS2 made more of an impact than the Game Boy did for you.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, for me, the Game Boy did, because I didn't get a console until a little bit later. But I remember I got a Game Boy Color. My sister got a Game Boy Color. We both got... So I'm actually fuzzy on this. I remember us distinctly each getting a Pokemon game. I think she got Pokemon Yellow and I got Pokemon Blue. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I was playing some Game Boy games before then. I remember playing Super Mario, not World, just one of those old Game Boy Color Super Mario games. Don't know which. I might have been borrowing it from somebody. It might not even have been on my Game Boy Color. I don't have a timeline for that. But I know that one of the first games that I owned was Pokemon Blue. And so, regardless of how you slice it, I think that the Game Boy Color was probably my big first foray into gaming. Mm. So yeah, that's kind of mine. Console-wise, though, I didn't get my own game console until Nintendo GameCube in, I think, 2003, for Christmas, so the end of 2003. And maybe we can get into sort of fandoms or specific things or whatever that we're... Wait, what?
I hated the GameCube when it came out.
Why'd you hate it?
I loved my PS2, and it made me. I was like, why would there be any other consoles? There shouldn't be any.
Combative. You were already in the console wars.
Yeah, basically, I was in the console wars. I was digging the trenches.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I got it. I didn't actually have a game for it at first, besides the little demo disc that came with it. It had a Zelda Wind Waker demo, and maybe something else that was on there. But I think that the first game that I got for the GameCube that really made me a fan of something was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Just truly so iconic, so much fun. The 2-player mode, playing City Escape, running from the gun truck. It blew my mind, as a kid, just that games could do that. Could, I guess just, because you play as Sonic, and obviously I was, terrible at this game. You're running through the stage from one perspective. And then at the end of the stage, the camera flips around and now you're running towards the screen, the truck's behind you. My sister and I were scared when that happened. It was terrifying. It was a whole thing. And that kind of made me a lifelong Sonic fan. So I think that, for me, it's some mixture of Pokemon and Sonic as my gaming roots would probably go.
I think the most impactful video game I played as a child, I think me and my brothers would all agree, was Dragon Ball Z Budokai.
Oh, I know. Everybody loves those.
We're talking about specifically the first one. So, like most kids in that time, we all watched Dragon Ball Z on Cartoon Network, on Toonami, right? Well, at the time, my parents were pretty aggressive about limiting our screen time to such a degree where the PlayStation was not kept in a place where I could access it. It was kept in my parents' room. And there was like no greater joy for me, Alex, my older brother, than to like, for them to like leave the room and then we could have the PlayStation all to ourselves and we would just grind that game. That game caused all the damage on our controllers.
Yeah, it's like, that type of game.
We played through the entire campaign multiple times. We fought against each other over, and we just kept passing the controllers. And then once we destroyed one of the controllers, then someone else had to have the bad controller. Then,
so you guys did have like a bad controller?
Well, because I don't know if it pioneered it, but Dragon Ball Z had the like.
Oh God! Like you twist the
you had the
control stick.
I immediately went straight to the palm technique.
Yeah, I'm so glad games don't do that shit anymore.
Me too.
The first, just real quick cut in.
Destroyed our hands.
The game that did that for me was Sonic fucking Riders, where you had like to build air in these certain parts. You had to like spin the fucking control stick. God, that was. I think some Mario Party games were doing that early on too. Like just destroying these kids' control sticks.
We would destroy the sticks, but then we still have to keep spinning them. So now we're just dealing with the hard
grinding
plastic,
at those hard
and we're just going crazy. Our hands all torn up, and those are great times.
So that was like probably one of your the early ones you remember the most. Like this
that
game stuck.
I mean, that had to have been the most impactful thing I did on that PlayStation was play Dragon Ball Z Budokai.
I know you mentioned Lord of the Rings as your sort of book that maybe started you out.
So reading was my gateway into nerddom. It's the thing that immediately alienated me from all the other kids in class and school in general. Alex and I, we truly believed reading was fun. We lived to read. Other kids want to run around. We want to read. When teachers would always say, "Hey, if as long as you're quiet, y'all can do what y'all want." So we would just read. It was to such a degree that I would skip doing tests. Like I would just answer all the questions on a test with C, just so I could get back to my book faster.
Oh yeah, man, you were
like we were reading fiends and. And because reading doesn't really require like a group activity, it completely alienated us from like all the other kids.
Yeah, what's interesting actually is my sister was a reader, but I was not much of one myself. Like I liked reading. I'm always like grateful that my parents read to us a lot. I feel like that was always like a small thing that actually has made a transformative difference in like my adult life. Mm-hmm. But I think the first book series that like where I was like I guess I read stuff in elementary. I read a lot of books. I was we had like something called Accelerated Reader or like AR.
Oh, I remember.
Some people in the audience might remember this. Yeah, I was one of those kids who like did pretty well in that. But I think that the first book series that captured me was probably Harry Potter, and it had been out for a while before I started reading it. Like I remember they were on like maybe the 5th book or so when I Order of the Phoenix when I first got into it. But I remember like a relative of mine, one of my aunts, like just recommended Harry Potter for me one summer. She's like, "Hey, you can read this," because I was staying with them for a few weeks. I read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, really liked it, and then like at the end of the 2 weeks after I'd finished it, we even like rented the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone movie and like watched it from Blockbuster. Rest in peace.
That was a real one.
And that's when I became like a Harry Potter fan, and I've kind of been a fan of that as well ever since. It's unfortunate because the author has many things to say that aren't super cool.
She fell off for real.
But the book series itself though definitely sticks with me. So like those sort of feel like those are like my big foundations. Was like Harry Potter for reading, mm-hmm. Sonic and Pokemon for video games, and then Yu-Gi-Oh as like my like toy, like just more like physical thing. So
when we talk about earlier books, Lord of the Rings is the most impactful. Actually, the first book series I remember reading was actually the Magic Treehouse series by Mary Pope Osborne.
Oh, you read the Magic Treehouse? I think my sister read those.
We actually went a step further than just reading Magic Treehouse. So we had a subscription.
Oh, where did you guys have? Sorry, was it like Scholastic or something?
I don't know. I think it might have been through Scholastic.
Okay.
But
Well,
essentially, we got the latest Magic Tree book releases, or Magic Tree House releases, and they like came with like kits of like activities you could do.
Oh, that sounds fun.
While you or after you read the books, and it was a whole thing. We were those kind of nerds. Magic Tree House. That takes me back.
I know what you mean. Like, I think this is something that like I feel like this is turning into like our old retro 90s podcast now. Or like early 2000s podcast. Did you guys have like the book fair?
Yeah.
Oh, the book fair was just grand. I know for a lot of people it's like, oh yeah, you get to get out of class, which true, you know. Like for us, like you were allowed to basically kind of like leave class and go to the book fair and like buy stuff. But it was cool too because like that's how I was like exposed to just a lot of like other like new books that I probably wouldn't have tried very much on my own.
That's how I remember I got into the Artemis Fowl series that way. There was always the popular Captain Underpants series. So many books. I got the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them book there too.
What's interesting is I remember the book fair was always like the way to get like newer books that were coming out, like the book fair and those book catalogs. Because like my school library had older books, obviously, like kind of just established stuff. I remember I read a lot of books from who's the author?
R.L. Stein.
I didn't actually read any R.L. Stein stuff, and I kind of regret not reading.
It had a lot. I'm surprised.
There's a lot of R.L. Stein.
Libraries had a lot.
Were those like the horror books, or was that like
like R.L. Stein's known for like the Goosebumps series.
I didn't read Goosebumps. I didn't read Series of Unfortunate Events, like the Lemony Snicket stuff.
Oh, those fucking books.
And I feel so bad because like people speak so highly of those, and it's not like I can't like go back and read them, but like there is something I think about reading them when you are very much like the target audience, like you're the fifth grader reading them. I didn't read a lot of that stuff because my school library just in most cases didn't have a lot of that stuff. So I was like reading books by, I think the author's like pen name was like Beverly Cleary.
Oh, I remember Beverly Cleary.
Yeah, I read like a lot of stuff like that. Like it was much older books. I think those came out in like the 60s, 70s, whatever. But like they aged well. Like, I remember enjoying that stuff.
Alex and I, we tore through so many books. Like I have an incredibly long list of just like children's books that I knocked out that span decades of authorship. I remember like Beverly Cleary was really good for accelerated reader tests.
Yeah, they were great. Like there was a lot of them, and they were easy reads.
Very easy. It was easy to retain the information and just spit it back out on a test. I remember reading The Indian in the Cupboard, and this. I think there was one or two books after that one. There was Bunnicula, which had 2 or 3. It was a bunny rabbit. It was a bunny vampire. Bunnicula, get it? Like Dracula.
That's clever.
And then I remember it was when I was in elementary school, my second elementary school, where I discovered, like I didn't made it up, Lloyd Alexander's series. It was made popular by The Black Cauldron, if you remember that like cartoon movie. I remember that was like a fantasy series that I loved as a kid. But now I'm just going down memory lane. Rambling.
No, I mean that's totally fine. I was just gonna say like I wanted to sort of establish that because I wanted to sort of the next question is like do you feel like did you see yourself as a nerd or like a geek or whatever, like those kind of, I know those terms are sort of nebulous. Did you like when you were like liking a lot of this stuff, did you see yourself as that? Like was that like a label you would have called yourself or?
Well, yeah, because everyone else kept calling.
So people called you that?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never not never, I probably did get called a nerd, but like, I don't feel like I viewed myself as that. But I think it's mostly because the things that I liked, I got into some nerd things later than other people did, like with the Harry Potter situation and stuff like that. But I also think with Yu-Gi-Oh, I remember there were so many other kids who also played Yu-Gi-Oh that I guess I never felt reclusive about it because I literally knew that there were just like several other kids in class who were also going to be bringing their cards. So I guess it never came across as like as much of a, it's like a reclusive activity or like something that's kind of to be shamed for. As a kid, like I didn't get that impression. I think that was more of a sense I developed maybe more in high school.
Nah, Alex and I were pretty aggressively bullied.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
It wasn't a matter of whether or not I chose to call myself a nerd. Is the vast majority of people around me were calling me a nerd.
Okay.
We also wore like we had these big old glasses, and many times we had to get our glasses replaced from being broken. It was just so for me, like, and for I think for a lot of people, being a nerd is more than just like it's not a simple label, because a lot of people didn't get to choose whether or not you were a nerd.
Yeah.
It was you were different, and then you were ostracized. And I think that's one of the reasons why, some people are so defensive of nerddom nowadays, since it's so popular.
That's what I was going to get into. Although I do want to say, like, I feel like it's weird because I was bullied as a kid for reasons that weren't as related to like liking Yu-Gi-Oh or like liking to read or things like that. So it was weird because I guess for me, I just compartmentalized these different things. Like, I might have been bullied for like maybe the way that I like spoke or dressed, but not really for like the things that I liked. So I'm in some ways, I guess I'd say I'm like fortunate about that. But I'm glad that you pointed out though that it feels like that could be sort of why people maybe are more defensive about, like, there's that like new age shift of like it's cool to be a nerd, or like people will say like, now that being a nerd's mainstream, like these new people don't know what it was like back in the day. Like they don't appreciate, those of us who got bullied and like still read books anyway, or still read comics
in the trenches.
And I've always been sort of mixed on that, like sort of the gatekeeping the nerddom thing. Like, are you allowed to basically skip the awkward bullying of elementary and like middle school and stuff, and just be a nerd in, I guess in adulthood, where it's, you got to skip the line? Like, some people view it that way. Do you think it's like that, or no? Yes.
I mean, it's very much like that. A lot of people, out of fear of being different, did not take interest in nerdy things when they were younger.
Right.
They protected themselves, and times were changing, tastes and preferences were changing, culture was changing, and now they feel freer and more liberated to like kind of whatever the hell they like. The thing is this: people are gonna like what they're gonna like. You can't just make someone not like Marvel movies because they were mean to you in the 5th grade. They're not gonna stop liking them because you liked them first.
Yeah, that's where I also get off the bus with it, is kind of that like idea that, it's the pain Olympics. You have not endured enough, I guess, pain or ostracization as a child, so you haven't earned the right to like the things that I've liked for many years. I understand where people come from with that. Like, I do, because I know like there's a lot of people harbor a lot of pain from elementary and like middle school and stuff. I do too. Trust me, I do.
Just yesterday, honestly, like
But
that's
real?
a joke.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just yesterday I met my old bully and we fought. No, I don't like. I get that like people kind of still harbor those grudges. I just don't think that it's like worth, I guess, imposing that onto other people, because like everybody, like people, to me, I'm one of those people where like I'm more glad when somebody can find an interest to be nerdy about, like, if that makes sense.
It's because you're coming from it from a different place, A lot of people, when you go through so much torment, you don't actually, like, a lot of people don't deal with that. They just kind of like push it down, and when they see the cultural shift, all those old feelings start bubbling up. Like, you people shouldn't be allowed to enjoy these things. But I'm fortunate. I got my lick back already. I was a bully in high school.
Oh, okay.
Like, any aggression that I would have from how I was treated in elementary school, I dropped that right on some kid's head in high school. Not proud of it, but I got to be the victim and the bully. So I've been on both sides of it now. I don't harbor any ill will anymore. Yeah. But there's a lot of people, they just took it, and
And they're
one
still
of their
kind of holding on to it.
So yeah, one of the few things they enjoy is like, I really loved my Pokemon cards when I was a kid. It did not. Most kids just tease me over it. I just I just kind of put up with it, and now now everybody's into Pokemon and they're posting this and they're posting that. Why? How come I had to get hurt to love Pokemon back then, but
And
now they
like,
can just enjoy it?
Sort of
I understand being bitter.
Okay, this is like a totally unrelated funny thing. Did you ever, because like, like in TV shows, like especially kind of those like sitcoms and stuff, bullying was always portrayed as like, getting your head flushed down the toilet or like, like people pulling your underwear over your head. Do you think people ever, like, do you think that's real or do you think that that's like just played up for the television screen? Like, I never saw anyone or experienced anyone getting bullied in that way.
So yeah, that was like TV style bullying.
Yeah, like did you ever see anyone?
Real life was way worse.
Yeah, okay, so it's actually funny you say that because I was going to say like I actually think that the difference between TV bullying and real life bullying is funny because TV bullying looks exaggerated physically. Mm-hmm. Like you kind of get this physical exaggeration of like I'm gonna like. Did anyone ever actually get slammed into a locker? Like, I did not ever see that. I don't think that stuff happens that much. But I think that, like, did you get slammed into a locker? Or did you slam someone into a locker? You've done this? But, like, no, tell me about it. I mean, I just didn't. Okay.
I mean, lockers make a really nice sound when you're
trying. So you slam someone in a locker?
I didn't say that. All I'm saying is, like, the sound of a freshman hitting a locker involuntarily.
Okay, so you were one of those bullies. No, but I never saw somebody get like, what was it called when they flush your head down the toilet? Isn't there a name for that?
A swirly.
A swirly. Like I never saw anyone get a swirly. Like I never saw that.
I've never seen a swirly either. But like,
and I've never seen someone like
someone would just do worse.
And I've never seen someone pull like someone's underwear like over their head, like. Whenever I saw the bullying, I thought it was like a much darker thing where it was more of like the verbal, like, the words sting a lot more than like sticks and stones type of energy. Yeah. Like people would there was that ostracization, people, and don't get me wrong, people would like get in fights in general. Like, you're getting like pushed, shoved, fought, like beat up, but it just never seemed like that comical style of bullying from TV.
I mean, real bullying is way worse than TV. It doesn't look as nice.
Yeah,
I remember when Alex and our dad put us on this like track team in like a park we didn't normally go to, and I don't think it was our first track practice, but it was within our first week on that track team. A bunch of the kids stomped us out in the sand pit. Like we were done. Like there was no more track to be had after that.
Okay.
Of course they made sure to smash our glasses into like 4 pieces. Like that. That was a rough one. That wouldn't have looked good on TV.
Yeah.
You know what? I wish they would have given me a wedgie.
Yeah, you would have preferred a wedgie. Would you have preferred a swirly? I don't think I'm sorry. Like, okay, this is gonna sound crazy,
that's just vile.
But like literally, if someone tried to give me a swirly, I don't care how like small, skinny, and helpless it's not gonna happen. Literally, they would get like I'd have to be like forced into it because no single person would be able to do it. Like I would do anything to not get like that sounds so gross. Like just having it's like your head that they put into the toilet, right? Like or like that's how it's portrayed. Like I would really like fight, kick, like bite, do whatever, like to not take a swirly. That just seems so.
I've seen a kid threatened with one. Now that I think about it,
threatened with a swirly?
I do remember a kid getting grabbed by the head and nearly forced into a urinal.
Ugh.
But then the magnanimous bully pulled back because they were like, even I'm not that evil.
Yeah, I find that sort of thing is, that's awful. No, I know like people like with bullying, like people will take stuff. Like people like steal someone's Yu-Gi-Oh cards or steal someone's like.
Oh, that was kind of in a weird way. I don't even take I guess I don't even think of non-violent acts as bullying as much because of just how violent it could be at times. Because it definitely is. It's certainly at least harassment, right?
It reminds you how like evil kids can be to each other when they have yet to develop the sort of like empathy receptors and stuff in their head, like where like you don't, just you can just be purely guided by malice without a second thought. Like there are adults who might be like that, but like it's hard. It's so much harder to actually find someone who just walks around willingly just acting that way. Whereas like as kids, like people would steal things, people would like say things, like and there's just no sense of like this could hurt another person.
I remember Alex and I made such good targets. I'll never forget a kid we grew up with who was the same kind of nerd as us. I remember in high school 180'd on us like a...
Oh, wow. That's awful.
He hopped right on, and I remember Alex took his chance, and he turned on me too. That was a rough room to be in.
Yeah,
that was a rough day.
So, I mean, I don't know. I just thought that would be like a fun sort of thought process thing to go through. Is just sort of like what were these formative nerddom sort of experiences for us?
I feel like I'm like traumatized all over again.
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of trauma and healing. I'm actually very interested in what the audience has to say about this too, because like I know that there are people who watch us who are like much younger than us, and there are also people who like watch who are like much older. So I don't know like if like what bullying even like looks like in school now, but maybe even more than just a bullying thing.
Maybe it's mostly cyber.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like I also don't know if like getting into hobbies and being exposed to things like happens the same way now. Like, do the kids still read physical books? Like, do they
read?
Do they even read?
Can
like,
they?
Well, because like now first it was like kind of the rise of like the iPad kid, right? Like,
yeah.
And I've seen this in real life, like kids when I'm at like the barber shop or when I'm at like just the post office or something, like parents who just will give these 6-year-olds slap a tablet in front of them and like they just play games on it. So I guess they're being exposed to something like video games, but it's different. But then also like now there's like ChatGPT. So like, is that changing
AI
stuff?
Kids?
Like, well, because we saw that one kid who was talking to character AI and it was like saying awful, like it was, justifying suicide or whatever. So I don't know like what that looks like now. If someone in the audience has a kid that maybe is going through, between the ages of like 5 and 15 or so, like what is school? What do they purport school to be like? So, anywho, that was fun. Maybe we can do that again another week if people enjoy this. I thought it'd be a fun way to just sort of peel back the curtain some and
I need a drink.
Connect. Yeah, maybe trauma bond.
I think I'm actually like re-traumatized.
Well, maybe it could also help you with that.
What's that?
Is doing some pot.
I have heard of people dealing with trauma with pot.
So these are the viewer submitted questions every week. If you guys want, you can submit them down below at the link in the video description. We answer questions about Yu-Gi-Oh! It'll also be about other things. We're trying to kind of expand this podcast, talk more about the nerd stuff. And I have seen people's comments too that we talk too much about AI on this podcast.
Well, we didn't even do it this week.
Yeah, so this time I tried not to find an AI story. That means next week I'll compensate by
finding
the most horrific shit. It'll find its way to me. But yeah, so these are some viewer submitted questions. Also, I'll just take this opportunity to remind the folks at home, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Here on YouTube, we're almost at 100,000, and I know there are some people who maybe listen to this podcast but actually just aren't subscribed. So that'd be really cool.
And also, if you like listening to the podcast, then you can show support by becoming a member. Join our membership. We're currently at, I don't remember.
Some amount of members, 120, something like that.
B121.
Yeah. It's $2.99 a month. As you guys know, we don't have any sponsors on this podcast.
We don't even have tiers to this because, well...
Yeah, there's just one membership level.
Spend much more than that, honestly.
We do bonus episodes sometimes, and we'll put your name in the credits. And it's just also cool if you like the Pot of Greed, because it is the only podcast on the internet, then that would be a great way to show your support. But you don't have to. Okay, now, for the viewer questions.
All right, what's we got in the pot?
You can take the first one if you like.
Okay. The lack of alternate Yu-Gi-Oh formats is, in my view, one of Yu-Gi-Oh's biggest problems for casuals and potential new players. Over the years, Konami's experimented with official alternate formats. In particular, I think that beta format and battle pack were formats Konami experimented with 8+ years ago. I don't remember beta format.
I do. I can
think
explain it in
that
a
if
sec.
these formats were introduced now, when the game is much more complex, these formats would have more success. Do you agree, or do you think that there are other factors that would prevent? My screen turned off because it's dying. That would prevent these formats from taking off.
Okay, so I can actually quickly explain what beta format is because this is an extremely obscure little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh history,
I don't think I
actually,
know
and
this
I'm
one.
actually going to make sure that I get it right in explaining the rules. But this was a format that they tried out in, if I'm remembering correctly, like 2012, 2013, something like that. Okay, yeah. Beta format, also referred to as special format, is a format that was used at some Win-A-Mat events introduced at YCS Chicago in April 2015. So, here's how it works. Duelists dueling under this format are restricted to a maximum of 3 summons per turn, with a maximum of 1 summon from each of the following options. So, a normal summoner set, a summon from the extra deck, which at the time was Fusion, Synchro, Xyz. Also, that counts for like special summons by the effect of a card like Mask Change or Bahamut Shark.
Okay.
And then a special summon from a place other than the extra deck, aka the hand, the deck, spell trap zones, graveyard. So, yeah, that's basically what beta format was. It is something that is, people always talk about like, you need to summon limit. You can only summon this many times per turn. This was something that Konami did try at YCS side events. It was not particularly well received. It said that it got, discontinued due to lack of interest. So,
It would be a little difficult to deck build around, I think.
so anyways, I guess their question was just what, like, do you agree that, like, what would make these formats take off today? Do you think it'd be any different?
Yeah, like, would they be more popular in this day and age? And I would say, with the current state of modern Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't think it will be all that popular with modern Yu-Gi-Oh enthusiasts. But compared to 2015, I think there are a lot more disenfranchised Yu-Gi-Oh players who don't really play the modern game like that actually would take a strong interest in alternative formats like Battle Pack or Beta format that I just learned about.
Yeah, I was going to say largely the same. Like, I'm sort of mixed in that, like, when it comes to alternative Yu-Gi-Oh formats, the demand seems like higher today than it's ever been because of the sort of death of the mid-core Yu-Gi-Oh player and all that.
It's a polarizing game.
It's a whole thing where like you're kind of pushed into either the hyper-competitive side of the game or play goat nest and then shut up type of, like, there's not like much of a middle. So still though, there's kind of this trend that happens within any sector, I guess you could say, is people speak with their mouths, but like they act with their wallets sort of thing. So there are a lot of people who would say like, man, I really wish Yu-Gi-Oh would limit the amount of summons, but nobody at YCS Chicago clearly was super interested in this beta format thing. You can say, well, it's because Konami didn't advertise enough. If I'd known about it, I would have liked it. But there were people at that event or at the number of events where they tried it out that did know about it and it was offered to them and they just, I guess, chose not to play it. The same kind of goes for Battle Pack in that while a lot of people look back on Battle Pack fondly, myself being one of them,
I remember it was reviled.
when it first came out, people were, I don't even think that they
ignored it when it first came out.
They ignored it at first. Like, for the most part, it was just seen as just like playing weird old cards and like, I just don't care. That was the vibe I got from a lot of players. Then it kind of became reviled when it was the like YCS Top Cut. Sort of, they replaced.
It was forced onto players that made it to top cut in tournaments, and players found that they did not at all like a sudden format change mid tournament.
Yeah, and like I remember seeing battle packs just on Walmart shelves, on Target shelves, at the card shop, just not bought because
they sat
and they collected dust, and people just didn't want to do it, and so it makes me weary. I can understand why Konami maybe is just like, okay, we're going to discontinue these. They're just not hitting the sales metrics. And so I understand why they probably don't. I know today people are like, please bring back Battle Pack. Please bring back like a draft. Like, give us something, some variety. I think maybe today they'd be more popular. But like when they were placed in front of players, it seems like the sales spoke volumes about.
I mean, and you can take it a step further and look at speed duels, right?
Yeah.
Another alternative format with the goal of giving Yu-Gi-Oh players another way to play Yu-Gi-Oh. And, there were certainly some issues with the speed duel products, but Yu-Gi-Oh players did make themselves fairly clear when it came to buying product. They did not want to buy these speed duel cards.
And the thing is, for people who maybe think like, oh, you guys are just like bullshitting this, you're making it up. I mean, we spoke to Matt Bell. He is the former Konami employee who
spoke to him on here.
Yeah, he was on the podcast. Like, we talked to him about like, kind of the conception of speed duel, some of the struggles it had, and in many cases, the fact that like it did not always sell super well. Like people didn't like the pack structure. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's easy to point the finger at Konami and just say, well, like they've ruined modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And anytime they do anything else, they don't market it right and it's always a mess. But like
they gave us a
chance. They will give a chance, and you do have to like sort of. It's that Yu-Gi-Oh thing that we talked about in like a past episode. This might have been like a bonus episode.
What, the blackmail?
I remember a little bit, the sort of hostage blackmail situation, but more like, okay, so there's like, we're trying to have a tournament at the card shop and revive Yu-Gi-Oh in our little local scene. This applies to many places. And I say, I'm not going to enter the tournament until there are at least 7 other people playing. So that way they can be an 8-man tournament and like it'll be a full thing and I'll have fun. But if everyone says that, if everyone says I'm not going to play unless there's enough other people playing it, then I'll try it, then you just get nowhere. I have watched this exact like situation, this scenario, this sequence play out in many card games, at many shops, in many different locations where, people kind of like the idea of speed duel, but they find some complaint that they have about it or some dissatisfaction. And they're like, well, I would try it, but, well, I would do it, but, and they just kind of won't. And then even when maybe sometimes that concern is addressed in some cases, they still don't actually give it a second look. So,
That's me. I just lie to people. How many people y'all got? 7?
Actually, I will not lie. I have lied.
Yeah,
I will not lie. I have lied about that. Like, there have been times where like I've done the same thing when I'm trying to like get people to just show up at the shop so we can fucking have a tournament after there's been a drought for several weeks. Yeah, there are people here.
Yeah, like honestly, you would make 10. Like,
yeah, because like it's I know, like, I'm saying that half joking, but it is something that I've done because like I know that people are going to be here, and every time that I've done that, it's worked out. It's just that like sometimes people need a little bit of an extra push. I'm just like rereading this person's question to make sure that I'm answering it. Are there other factors that would maybe prevent this stuff from taking off?
Player mentality. I think the people who play modern Yu-Gi-Oh the most are going to be the most opposed to any new formats because they've adjusted and gotten used to the way Yu-Gi-Oh currently is.
That's true.
Any alternative format you put in Yu-Gi-Oh right now is basically a different game.
It is funny you say that because I have a little sizzly take on that as well.
A zesty
which is
take?
That, yeah. It's just that I think Yu-Gi-Oh players, we always talk about like there's a bit of Stockholm syndrome. Konami abuses us. We kind of just deal with it. I think that it goes even further. I think people actually low-key like how like broken and kind of fucked up Yu-Gi-Oh is.
We like the suffering.
Yeah, we like a little bit of the suffering. Like we're kind of into it because when presented with something slower, when presented with something more simplified, when presented with something with a lower power level, and I know this isn't every Yu-Gi-Oh player, but we as a collective tend to kind of just scoff and like ignore it and move on. And that happens so much that I'm just kind of led to believe that people have been treated to this game where you can make such a powerful board going first. You can go so crazy. You can summon all your extra deck monsters all at once. And, your deck is so consistent. All of these things that playing an archetype that's just like a little bit weaker or kind of being asked to try out a format that's like different. People just kind of don't want to do it because it feels like regressing and it feels like walking backward.
Yeah.
And I think like it's something you have to sort of come to terms with a bit. Like it's like that thing I always get into about like being honest with yourself as a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Like there are people who decree modern Yu-Gi-Oh mostly just because they're not like winning as much as they want to be winning. Like, and that's actually what they really are unhappy about. Like, let's say I'm a Blackwing player and like I haven't been, I'm losing to like Malice and Rizal and stuff like that.
But as a Blackwing player, what don't you lose to?
Right. But then the truth is, when I win that coin flip and I get to take my 10-minute turn.
Droll.
And my opponent doesn't have hand traps.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever. My opponent didn't stop my turns. I set up a, like double black feather, the new black feather dragon that like burns when people activate effects, and I use and make the full armor master that's unaffected by everything, and and I also add in a fucking some other omni negate on top of it. Then I'm happy.
I've always found it weird how much joy people take in building their like basically uninteractable boards, and it's just like okay, you just played by yourself.
Yeah, and like I want to be really careful about I want to be very clear about what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that doing those things is bad. I'm saying that if you are doing those things, and everyone is, you have to kind of accept your role within the greater modern Yu-Gi-Oh-ness, right? Like, obviously, maybe your deck is less consistent than the current top thing, the Primite Blue Eyes, whatever, Memento or something. However, when you go uninterrupted, you are effectively doing a lot of what those decks are doing, and that's fine. Play to win. These are the cards that are legal and they're available, especially if you're in a tournament. I mean, hey, we all fucking paid to enter this thing. Why would I pay to hold back? You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, it is how much complaining do you really get to do? Like, if the situation was reversed and it went your way, you would still set up a board that largely prevents your opponent from playing and kind of like puts them in a chokehold. The few times
it happens, when I get to either tear through Paul's board or lock him out of a game completely, I enjoy it so much because I know Paul would not miss the opportunity to lock me right out the game too.
It's because you kind of have to. Like, the thing is, like, I play Voiceless Voice, and while I don't consider it to be like the best of the Yu-Gi-Oh decks right now, it's maybe like perhaps the 10th best deck in the TCG, and that might be being generous. But the thing is, it can still do obnoxious shit. I can still set up like Omni Negate, Spell Negate, Trap Interruption, whatever. Like, I can set these things up and like prevent my opponent from playing. And so like I almost have to let go of some degree of like sympathy, because it's like, well, this is the game we play. If the situation was reversed, you do the same. Like, it's rough. But that's gotten a little bit away from the question. The main thing is what is stopping these alt formats from taking off, and I think it's actually just
us as players.
It kind of is like people don't like walking backwards or feeling like that's what they're being asked to do as much as they maybe have you believe. I recently came across a short about the upcoming Dragon Ruler support in Alliance Insight. I was surprised by how negative the comments were on that video. A number of people seemed to be upset that the deck was getting support at all, and some were even advocating that the new card should get banned. There was quite a bit of hate directed towards Disaster, Dragon Ruler of all apocalypses in particular. Could you please elucidate why these, quote, likely more casual players were upset about this news?
I guess the idea is the new support is broken?
In the eyes of these commenters, anyway.
Okay.
I have seen the short. I read the comments. When I saw the comments, we were looking at them and they seemed to be pretty positive. Or not like positive, but like most people seemed kind of like, cool, new Dragon Rulers. Like, I didn't sense too much negativity.
Typically in Yu-Gi-Oh, when like a legacy deck gets support, it's either liked or ignored. You usually don't hear much hate for old decks getting support.
I will say this. This is maybe kind of, I'm abstractifying the question a little bit more here, but I will say with YouTube Shorts and like short form content in general, Alec and I know, when we're looking at people's comments and stuff, they bring a different crowd.
Yeah.
Like whenever I look at the comments on like our shorts versus maybe a normal duel or a challenge or whatever, the shorts do tend to be more casual-minded people. Like, it seems like they're more, like so for instance, we've done a short that was like here's what the like highest attack monster in Yu-Gi-Oh is or whatever. It's that like Numeronius Numeronia Xyz monster.
Stupid comment
Very
section.
popular short. And people are all like, no, like Exodia is stronger because it has infinite attack.
So it's literally not.
Or like, well, technically, like Harakathy is stronger. Or like
People are simple.
You know, whatever. The Wicked Avatar always has 100 more attack. Just kind of like people kind of in, I guess what they would consider like righteous indignation about a claim or something. So yeah, like in YouTube Shorts, I do think that there's like a more casual audience that tends to kind of be fed those videos, and
I
so
think
they'll
Paul's
have.
being too kind. It's a lot of people who haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh in like 15 years.
Yeah, I mean that's what it really is.
You deal with a lot of people because like when you upload a Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube video like on your YouTube channel, you are going to reach people who currently follow Yu-Gi-Oh. Whether or not they play Yu-Gi-Oh is different, but they still currently follow Yu-Gi-Oh. That's why I hit their feed. Shorts are a little bit different. They go out to a wider group of people where as long as you have any interest in Yu-Gi-Oh at any point in your life, these videos could be like fed to you. And it's like, despite the fact that the last set you remember pulling from was Metal Raiders, you know, I'll still hear your take about the state of the Fiendsmith meta.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it reminds me a lot of actually just the comment that you see on the Yu-Gi-Oh social media posts in general. Like, you know, there's like a Konami post or whatever. It's just, there's a mixture of like kind of current TCG people who are just like, when's the next Banlist or whatever. Something like, kind of something, a more modern complaint about Yu-Gi-Oh. Mm-hmm. And then there's like just there's still these bitter people who are like, Synchros ruined this game.
Stuck in the past.
Like, and then they're just like stuck in the year 2008 or whatever in denial about a synchro monster.
So like nobody who currently plays Yu-Gi-Oh is worried about Dragon Rulers. We're not even mad about Dragon Rulers anymore. Were we back then? Sure. But it's 2025. If the opponent across from you whips out Dragon Rulers, you're thanking your lucky stars.
Yeah, because for most people, by modern Yu-Gi-Oh standards, it's probably just a free win. Like, it's... And I don't say that as a knock against Dragon Rulers. There are so many legacy support decks and just like kind of more like mid-power level decks where that the same thing applies. Like this old shit. Like, I mean, no one's really expecting like these Dragon Rulers to do anything. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm saying that no one's expecting them to, and probably rightfully so.
You're likely just supposed to have a little bit of fun playing some old cards.
Like, yes. And also, I think with maybe something else being highlighted too is Yu-Gi-Oh players kind of don't let go of like old scars very easily. This isn't all players. Like people on the more mid-core to casual end, like let's say a person stopped playing in 2014 when Pendulums came out.
Good year.
Right. Pendulums came out. This is too hard to understand. All these scales and the half spell and the half monster, whatever. So for them, the last thing they remember kind of being good was Dragon Rulers. And maybe like some of the stuff from Hat format or whatever. And so when they see this short in 2025 that Dragon Rulers are getting support, their mind kind of goes back to 2013 and stuff when like Dragon Rulers were like this undisputed tier 0 top thing, and it was like just traumatic having to face these Dragon Rulers and all the things they did to you. It was a perfect
deck. It literally had no weaknesses.
Yeah, it was so stupid. It turned me out every
rank 7s busted.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you know, Dragon Rulers have been so far power crept that it's just, you know, it's laughable. Like, it's funny because the Dragon Rulers had 3 effects each, and they had like that hard, like you can only use one.
Hard once per turn.
The standard amount of effects in Yu-Gi-Oh today is 3. And you can use them all.
Can be used.
And you can use them all, and like they summon themselves, and they search, and they float, and they get rid of, you know, whatever.
You want to talk about, you know, the strongest rank 7 deck of yesteryear versus the strongest rank 7 deck of today? Like, Dragon Rulers versus Kashtira?
I know. Like, also, I mean, we did the Blue Eyes, like, structure deck from 2013 versus the structure deck from 2025. And it's like, you know, it was like a laughable challenge. Like, I had to just... It didn't matter. Like, I was playing the new Blue Eyes deck, and I'm just like, I can make 10 million mistakes, stumble, and, like, still just...
win on accident.
Just win on accident. Like, so, anyway, to get back to the point I'm making, though, is, like, there are a lot of people who still, in their mind, in their heart, Dragon rulers are just always going to be broken and busted in like tier 0. It's like it is synonymous with tier 0. For some people, that's dragon rulers. For some people, that's Shaddols. For some people, that's Necrons or Zodiacs or whatever. Like they still despise these decks when the game has moved so far past it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I should be scarred over 2012 Yu-Gi-Oh, but none of those decks age well at all.
Yeah, like so. I see. I guess what you're probably seeing in the comment section there is just people being a short being served to more casual kind of former Yu-Gi-Oh players, and them having a strong opinion on it. And I don't. I mean, I just can't. Yeah.
But with that in mind, boy, I'd like to play a format with like Gear Gia and wind-ups again.
Yeah, some of the old stuff. That'd be cool. It's actually funny. The 2012 format, like redo format, has been kind of slowly picking up popularity as a new
the new time
legacy kind of Time Wizard format. So people have been kind of interested in that. Maybe that'll garner some traction. Anyways, that's going to be it for this week's Pod Agreed.
Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate all of you.
Hopefully you're all having a truly wonderful day and you are picking up Alliance Insight at your local card shop this weekend.
Let us know what you pulled.
Cool. Well, that's going to be it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.